Hello everyone, happy Easter. Thank you for joining us today. Hope you and your family have a fantastic Easter. Today we're going to be talking about the most important question that we can be thinking about, and that is, who is Jesus? Now, in different stages of our lives, we have different things that are important, different questions that are important to us. Whenever you're in primary school, the big question might be, what's for lunch today? Or who am I going to play with on the playground? Then you get to middle school and you start to kind of question, like, oh, does this person like me? What's my favorite things to do? And then you get to high school and you start going, what do I want to do whenever I graduate? What am I going to study? Where am I going to go to university? Do I need to get a job? What sport am I going to play? Then you get into university and then you get like, okay, what am I going to do once I graduate? You start dating, and then you get to be a young adult, and then more things come up, and then you get to be an old person, and then more questions come up. Point is, there's important questions that we deal with all the time, and they constantly change. But none of these questions compare to the question we have to answer, who is Jesus? And so we've talked about the past few weeks what he's done for us, how he conquered the separation. He defeated the separation between us and God. We've talked about how he defeated sin and how we're seen perfect through God, perfect through him in the eyes of God. And then we also talked about how he defeated death and how he rose from the dead. People had been risen from the dead before, but nobody had actually raised themselves from the dead. But now it's time to talk about who he says he is and why this makes a huge impact on our decision and the world as we know it. If you talk to people and you ask them, who is Jesus, you're going to get a multitude of answers. Some people might say he's fictional. He's like the Easter Bunny or Santa Claus. Then you might ask somebody like, well, what do you think of Jesus? And they might go, well, he was a historical person. We've got proof that a guy named Jesus actually existed outside of the Bible. But other than that, he's kind of like Plato or Aristotle or George Washington. But then you've got others that say, well, Jesus is a religious leader. He's a great prophet. He had great teachings. He's like Gandhi or whoever else. Maybe he's like Mother Teresa. All their teachings were great and they had a positive impact in the world. But other than that, that was it. All those miracles that he supposedly did and him rising from the dead, it's all fluff. But what we're going to is we're going to actually look today at who Jesus says he is. Have you ever had a person in your life that you had heard about and you thought one thing about them, but you had never actually met that person? Then you end up meeting them and you find out everything you'd heard about them was a complete lie, was complete false. Well, that's what happens when you get to know the source and you find out who somebody is and you talk to them directly rather than hearing about what everybody else thinks about them. You actually find out the truth about that person. So today we're going to take a look at the Bible and we're going to see what Jesus says about himself and what he says and who he says he is. Today we're going to look at John 14. Now before John 14, a lot of good things were happening. We have Jesus performing all types of miracles, he's healing people, he's traveling around, he's got this group of people that follow him everywhere, and he's got a ton of followers other than his disciples that when they hear Jesus is coming, they're all excited and they go out to see him. So all this good stuff's going on. But then Jesus kind of has a bombshell he drops on the disciples. And he's going to tell them about things that are coming up and things that are going to happen. And they start questioning and they're like, wait, what are you telling us, Jesus? What is this? You're telling us you're going to die, then you're going to go be with your Father in heaven, and you're going to make a way for us and all this stuff. And they're having some confusion and doubts. So Jesus says, well, hold on a second. Let me clear this up for you guys. And he just kind of says it very plainly in John 14:16. He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. So we're going to take a look at these three things that Jesus told them that he was. The way, the truth, and the life. All right, so Jesus first off says he's the way. How many of you have actually been lost? Like you've been out in the woods, you've been in the store, you've been somewhere and you're completely lost. Maybe figuratively, you've been lost. You had a decision to make, you couldn't figure out what to do. You just weren't sure what direction to go. Well, Jesus is telling us, hi, I'm the way. And so by him saying the way, he's the way for a couple reasons. First off, he's the way to find God. So that's the one way he says that, hi, I'm the way. The second way that Jesus says he's the way is he wants to help us in making decisions and finding our way through life. If we look at a verse in Proverbs, 2 verses actually, Proverbs 3, 5 through 6, they say, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek his will in all you do, and he will show you which path to take. So Jesus here is saying that he's the way, and if we seek him out, as this verse says, if we trust in God, and we don't rely on our own understandings, but we look toward him, he's going to help us make right decisions in life. He's going to help us find the right way to take in whatever it is we're trying to do. So that's how Jesus is saying he's the way. And Jesus said he's also the truth. Now, truth, that's a big topic today. What is truth? What's right? What's wrong? It's one of those things where some people believe that what's true for me may not be true for you, but it's true because I think it's true. Now, that seems kind of confusing and kind of weird, but that's how things are going right now. What is truth? Does society decide on it? Where are the boundaries? What's going on? And then there's another side of a group of people that says, hey, you know what? Facts don't care about your feelings. A fact is a fact, and we've got to have set boundaries and truths. Whenever it comes to having boundaries, it's important that they're fixed, that they're stable. Imagine countries where boundaries are fluid and constantly changing. This has happened in the past, and it's been difficult. You've got countries fighting other countries because they feel like, here's our boundary. It's like, no, our boundary's there. It's like, no, our boundary's here. And so you get disputes and wars that are happening because boundaries and truth is not set. Well, when we look at Jesus, Jesus says, hey, you know what? Live by my truths, and I'm going to give you boundaries that are going to set you free. Now, that might sound weird, saying boundaries are going to set us free. But if we have a set realm of area we can work within, we have known freedoms to be able to work with inside that. If we're not sure where the boundaries are and where truth lies, because it's always changing, it's hard to have the freedom to operate with inside because you're always going, is this in? Is this out? Is this in? Is this out? Is this true? Is this false? What is this? So if we look at John 8:32, Jesus says, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So as Jesus is telling us, hey guys, I'm the truth. Follow my ways. And if you do that, I'm going to set you free. You're going to have peace. And if you've been on the Instagram devotional things, we talked about that peace that you can find by looking toward Jesus and God and their truths. Jesus says lastly that he is the life. Now, it used to be a thing where people would say something gave them life. This video game gives me life. Or, I love this chocolate cake, it gives me life. Maybe you can think of some things that gave you life. Or maybe it gives you life still today. But the thing is, when Jesus tells us that he is the life, he uses a word that means full, genuine, real, satisfaction. It's not just one of those things where it's like, oh, poof, it's gone. Jesus wants to give us something that's full and satisfying. We look in John 10:10. He says, my purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. The reality is too often we find things that give us satisfaction that are short-term, that are temporary and not permanent. Things that we can get a quick fix off of and be like, yay, I feel better. This gave me life. It gives me joy. But you know what? God's not talking about this. He's sitting here going, I am the way, the truth, and the life, the everlasting, genuine, satisfying life that never goes away. And so often, though, we're found looking for those simple, easy pleasures to give us life instead of looking for Jesus, when we need to be looking toward him. Now, we have to make a decision in how we respond to what Jesus said and who he says he is and what he did, because in the last part of that John 14 passage, he says, no one can come to the Father except through me. He's not only the way, the truth, and the life, but he's the only way to a relationship with God. So after looking at all that he's done, after all that he says he is, you have a choice that you have to make. It's believe who Jesus is and what he did for us and be restored in our relationship with God, or continue to be lost and trying to figure things out in life. Because if we look at Romans 10:9, it says, if you openly declare that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. What I'd love for you to do this week is just take some time, reflect, think about all the things we've talked about in the past 3 weeks and then also this week, and think about how you see Jesus, what you believe about him, and then have you made a decision on all of this that we've been talking about? Have you personally made a decision on what you think of God and how you see him and what he's done for us? Because this is the most important decision we have in our lives. Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today on Easter. Hope you have a fantastic rest of the day. My name's Tori Allman. For those of you who don't know, I'm the student pastor here at Mauldin First Baptist. Appreciate you watching us here on Easter. Hope you have a fantastic day. Got a couple announcements for those of you that are regular attenders. Summer camp has been canceled. Hate to say this, but it has been canceled. So we're going to try to come up with some other fun activities and things we can do throughout the summer just to kind of make up for it. We're also looking at an activity in the fall, doing a weekend away at a camp and doing something fun there. Now, mission trip is still a go, so if you haven't got your names down, we got like a couple spots left, so get your names in for the mission trip. That's about it as far as the big stuff. We've got Instagram. Make sure you're checking us out on Instagram Live Monday, Wednesday, Friday for our little devotionals at 7:30. And then, we'll be doing some other stuff throughout the week, so check the WhatsApp group and also Instagram. Hope you guys have a fantastic week. Thanks for being here. Be blessed.